So Lee Woodward, we're on a mission to make $1 million for Hands Across the Water charity, and you saw it firsthand the impact that money will make to the education of kids who are in a disadvantaged state, kids who are doing it tough. And you have produced the mother of all podcasts to help us towards that $1 million. Can you just tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, certainly. So obviously the Real Estate Hot Topics program has been running 20 years. It's been a podcast of 80 minutes every month. And Steve, when you put together the charity auction of the best 21 trainers in the country contributing 1 hour of their time, that was a success. And I said, Steve, it would be amazing to get that into a podcast, but with a different spin. So quite often in a podcast, you'll hear someone speak for half an hour or 40 minutes. What we actually did was say, okay, coaches, if you could pass on one coaching tip only of your number one thing you've observed of 20 years of helping others, that one significant comment that would have impact on someone, what would it be? So everyone was really forced to compress their greatest answer. And when you know lots, picking one becomes a challenge, but that made the show incredibly punchy, which still ended up being 5.5 hours worth of coaching.
So 5.5 hours.
5.5 hours.
21 of the leading coaches in Australia. So we're talking McGrath, Panos, Sheargold, Steinway, Chris Helder, Tanja Jones, Julie Masters, and the list goes on. Yeah,
that's right.
All of whom have given you their one big one, 5 hours of content. I want to know, what were the moments where you went, wow, that is so powerful, the real estate industry needs to listen to that? Can you recite a few of those?
Yeah, certainly. Well, I think as a coach and trainer, just picking one thing they really had to think about.
Yep.
Because you could say everything, but Lee wants this one key point. So John McGrath was interesting. Obviously, John's helped thousands of agents around the world. But one of his points was, if you've been blessed by great content, you've profited from that knowledge, be a blessing to others. And this show, that really stacked up the show of everyone wanted people to profit from their knowledge. You then move into someone like a Matt Steinway, who in a time where people aren't making sales, has made 20 sales for the month, and explains how he uses technique over tech. Like, tech's important, but the real record's in your phone, that the person he spoke to 20 years ago is the actual gem. So there was a bit of a grounding moment in that one.
And you talked about one of the things that you surprised you was everybody turned up with their A game. So can you just talk a little bit about the A game and why do you think they turned up with their A game?
Great question. So if you ever watch an interview show like Parkinson or Denton, people are expressing from their personal point of view a key point, but usually they're on the reverse side of that. They're training or getting it out of somebody else. So to stop for a moment and say, this is me to you, it's a bit of a lifting of the veil, I would say. And also, we're all technically working the same space, and people say, oh, who's the best trainer? Is it Woodward? Is it Sheargold? Is it Panos? Is it? And none of that counts in a show like this. What counts is we've come together.
Yep.
And I think the collaboration was humbling for me. It was like, wow, here I am with all these incredible people on a very different tone though, Steve. When you do it for charity, this is not some big gig of touring the world. This was, I think the intention was clear of everyone speaking.
Yeah, excellent. And one final thing, Lee, what did you learn personally? Because you're a seasoned pro, you've spent a lot of time with some incredibly talented people all around the world, but I'm sure there were some lessons that you took from 21 coaches. What were they?
I was quite blown away with some of the coaches that aren't as profiled or well known as some of the other coaches.
Yep.
How deep their content was from the street work they're doing.
Yep.
And I really found that amazing. And then obviously Tom Panos was in the lineup, which was great fun for me because, you know, you might see or hear of Tom, but to do an interview, audio podcasting is still the most intimate form of coaching and training. And Tom was very well behaved, great information, but him being interviewed, because he interviews all the time, and again, it's that outward versus inward. But I think everyone explaining the inner game versus the outer game. You know, You're not going to fix this with a checklist. You're looking outside for that for some reason versus internally. That's where this was important. You know, if you look at 30 people on a bike ride, yes, we're there for charity, but everyone was there for a reason as well. And I don't think you come back the same from something like this, which is what we learned from being on the road.
Absolutely. Excellent. So 5 hours plus, 21 of the leading coaches, $49.
Yep.
Every dollar is going to Hands Across the Water, to the Digital Live $1 million challenge. How do real estate agents or real estate practitioners get hold of this podcast?
Certainly. We've set it up in a digital live format that if you text the word hands to the mobile number of 0429 272 009, that will send you back instantaneously the donation fill-in form on your screen. When you donate $49 or more if you wish, God bless you, within 12 hours you'll have the full digital webbook podcast of all the interviews back to you, and that is yours. So it's all digital, being digital live. It's all going to charity. A $250,000 production is now going to be probably the greatest asset in your library, as it's timeless. It wasn't about one topic, it was about everything and everyone at every time.
Excellent. Lee, thank you so much for your help.
My pleasure, and thanks for putting it all together.
Cheers.